Welcome to History Nuts. I'm Russ Carson Jr., the founder of Family Tree Nuts. At Family Tree Nuts, we build family trees for people, and we produce videos at historic locations and videos that help to honor your ancestors.
I'm Jameson Cable, founder of the Kentucky History Podcast, where we talk about anything Kentucky history, events, people. If it has to do with Kentucky, we're going to discuss it.
And we've teamed up together to bring you History Nuts.
History Nuts is a live show where we talk about, you guessed it, history.
Right. History seems to be less and less to people today, but we are trying to do everything we can to keep it alive.
Absolutely. History is a passion of ours, for sure, but it connects to you. Russ, tell us about the best part of the show.
You can join in. You can comment and ask questions live.
We've got a great topic today, and we know you're going to enjoy this episode of
History Nuts.
Hey, what's going on? We are live. What's up, Jameson?
Not much, man. We got a good topic here. A little Christopher Greenup.
Did he do it? Is he part of the conspiracy?
I don't know. We'll have to find out. I mean, maybe he was. Maybe he was. Maybe he's a little deeper than he was. Maybe he wasn't the honest politician everybody thought he was.
Well, I think we'll get into that, won't we, for sure. So, yeah, that's the biggest thing about this guy. This is a guy that Christopher Greenup is. He's really one of those guys, you know, meaning like, what are you talking about, Russ? You're rambling. He's really one of those people that, who the heck is that?
Well, yeah, and most likely, even if you're from Kentucky, and even if you're from Greenup, the county, the county that's named after him, or Greenup, the town that's named after him, they may not even know who Christopher Greenup is. So right. He is one of those guys, which that's what we're doing here, bringing light to historical people or just people in general that have a good story or have a good connection to Kentucky or the nation in general, a good history story. So Christopher Greenup is definitely a little bit, probably a lot, as in not heard of or known of or seen. So pretty interesting.
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties out there too. I don't think this is going out on Facebook, and I'm not sure how to correct that. Looks like it's out on YouTube, but not Facebook. So don't know.
Well, why don't you? If you want to, you could share the video to a Facebook post real quick. If you want to do that, and I could. I don't know if that would help out. I mean, it wouldn't connect to your Facebook, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but so I don't know, Jordan. I don't know if you're able to jump to correct that or what, but we'll get into it there about Christopher Greenup. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channels where you can watch this anytime, both Kentucky History Podcast and Family Tree Nuts, and make sure you comment. Let us know where you're watching from and what any questions or input you'd like to have about Christopher Greenup.
Yeah, so if you don't know yet, Christopher Greenup was the third governor of Kentucky. He was born around 1750, and well, actually, you know, before I get into that, his whole birth is a bit up in the air. I have a book called The Governors of Kentucky, and it kind of talks about each governor of Kentucky. But even doing more research, it's not exactly for sure when he was born. They assume it was 1750. In one document, they don't know who his parents are. I was able to find out, I guess, a possible parent, John and Elizabeth Greenup, and then also where he was born at. So Fairfax, is it Fairfax?
Yeah.
Virginia, or is it? And then is it Loudon, Virginia? Those are two separate places, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, so they don't know for sure where he was born. They don't know for sure who his parents were, and they assume that the year was 1750. So some mystery there. There's a little bit of mystery. That's about as much. When we get to the conspiracy, that's about as much mystery as we're going to get to. But anyway, He had a pretty expected education. I mean, he didn't go to no fancy places or anything like that. He went to the local schools, which, if you think about 1750 in Virginia, that's probably not going to be that much. But he did study some surveying and some law under Colonel Charles Benz. So
so he's not living a normal life. So many of the people that we talk about lived a little bit of a life of privilege, to even have an education. Period. I don't know. Tremendous amount of my own ancestors were illiterate, all the way up until early, 1900, kind of thing. But so, it's definitely somebody that I guess you'd call him upper middle class.
Yeah, you could definitely call him upper middle class, if not. I don't know. It's a tough one, because I would guess that would be accurate, because he did kind of have a basis. I guess more than you would expect, but not. He wasn't a fancy, he wasn't rubbing shoulders with Thomas Jefferson and those people, but he also wasn't, cleaning chimneys and that kind of stuff.
Right.
He's a tough one to judge, I guess, because the thing is, I'm not sure who his parents were, not sure a lot of things. He was very, very unknown, really. But I do think that we got some people that are watching from Facebook, so I think we're good on that end. We got a comment from Don here.
We are. Looks like Don. Hey Don, what's up, buddy? Looks like we're live on the Facebook there, so that's good. We're ready, rocking and rolling there.
Woo-hoo.
Well, he was in the Revolutionary War, so he was a soldier.
So he did, and he was able to get, I guess, promoted up to lieutenant of the Continental Line, and later he became colonel. But you're a military man. Is there specific, being a lieutenant of the Continental Line, what exactly is that? Or is there something, I guess, give me your expertise there. What's the deal
it's different. Military unit size and things like that is different back then as it is today. But he was a lieutenant, and that'd be your lowest officer rank. And captains today, somebody with a captain rank would command anywhere from 30 to 120 men in the Marine Corps. At least they, a lot of times a company commander is a captain, sometimes as low as a platoon size, which would be about 30 men. But you notice, like when we talked about the Battle of Blue Licks last week, everybody was a colonel, kind of thing. There was guys who show up with 30 guys that's a colonel, so it's difficult to know exactly. Chris says, hey, we're live, now. That's cool. Thanks. Good to see you, Chris, from Camarillo, California. But so he was your lowest ranked officer. So he would have been somebody that, because he was educated, would have been put in charge, and there was a lot less ranks back then too. You basically were a private. Sometimes they had corporals, but private, sergeant, every now and then they had a first sergeant, but, and then you go straight to lieutenant. But,
so that was that's kind of so he was in the Revolutionary War.
Blaine's watching from Bourbon County.
Oh, Bourbon
County. We were playing Bourbon County. That's why I got here last second. My daughter coaches volleyball. We were playing Bourbon County. Looks like we were whooping them. But Brian says we're on Facebook. Richard said he switched live. It's good to go. Melissa's watching from Indiana, and Nana 53 says hello.
So. All right, cool. So he fought in the Revolutionary War. I'm going to say kind of briefly, because even though the Revolutionary War was still going on, in about 1781, he moved to Kentucky, in what would be known at the time as Lincoln County, one of the three counties in Kentucky. He surveyed, and he was a land speculator. So,
how many people do we see that we've talked about moved to Kentucky right about within a year or two of this same exact time?
Yeah. I mean, Well, there's just so many people that were doing that. I mean, there's so many people going to Kentucky from Virginia, North Carolina. So many. I mean, and that was the thing, man. That was, I mean, if you want to call it a great migration or something to that nature, that's kind of what was happening.
I don't know if this is accurate, but I think there in the first decade, we had 15,000 people that poured into Kentucky, and then in the next 10 years after that, it was we're up to 30,000 and into Kentucky. But so many, I think about that because it was a land of opportunity, to move in, move into Kentucky. If you were a learned man, you had some limitations.
You were a learned man.
You had a little education. You had more opportunity to go out on the frontier, and make it. So on all levels.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, I think Garrett, I mean, that's another story for another day, but how many, hold on, it's just a question. How many counties are there in Kentucky now? 120. It was the largest amount of counties per land area. Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of counties in Kentucky. Some of them probably not needed as many, but anyway, so like, yeah, if you're thinking about people coming to Kentucky for opportunity, like James Garrett, he came to Kentucky. He was the second governor of Kentucky, but like his family came because like they weren't high society and they were kind of losing money. Like I think some of their land got destroyed in a battle or something like that. So they moved to Kentucky to kind of reestablish themselves. And, they had all this land. So they came to Kentucky, and he was able to, in Bourbon County, I believe, in that area, come in, survey a bunch of land, get all this land, and establish himself. And that's kind of what Greenup was doing here as well, coming to Kentucky, getting a fresh start, and, I guess
and he was pretty motivated.
Setting themselves up.
Well, because as soon as he got here, he became, quite successful. He was the soldier for the short time, and Don says he's a Lawrence County guy. He's living in Ohio, but he's a Lawrence County guy. So.
Is Sheldon Clark in Lawrence County?
No, that's Inez and Martin.
Inez, that's
one south of there, so real close.
Yeah. We played a football game in Sheldon Clark. It was an experience. But he was admitted to practice law. So like 1782, he started practicing, or he was admitted to the bar, and then he started practicing in 1783. And instantly he kind of starts getting himself put into positions, political positions, or if you want to say positions of power, I guess you could say it that way. He was the district court, served as the clerk of the district court in Harrodsburg. So from 85 to 92. And he was actually, we talked about this before about Transylvania. He was a trustee to Transylvania Seminary in Lexington, one of the first ones, which is now, Transylvania University, which is a video you can go watch as well.
Yeah, I was there today, actually.
Cool.
Yeah. It was very well connected fella, to all of a sudden, launch into leadership roles and things. Blaine says Mount Lebanon was James Garrett's home there in Bourbon, and it's still in the family name. So,
really? I didn't know that.
We're gonna have to go there, shoot a video.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, but that's another James Garrett's another topic for another day as well, because I mean he's a pretty good one. I don't know who my favorite is, but as far as the Kentucky governors go, but pretty good one. Go boy.
Yeah.
He definitely has the wildest story.
That's for sure.
But anyway, so he came to Lincoln County. Again, like you said, this is 1781, and by 1785, he's ready to get into the political game, so to say. In 1785, he was elected to represent Fayette County in the Virginia House of Delegates. If you are thinking, this is before Kentucky's a state, everything's still Virginia connected. And he and James Garrett and Benjamin Logan were actually on a committee to form Kentucky counties. And one of those counties is Bourbon. Then you have Madison and Mercer County, which brought the county total up to 7. And there's one missing in there, and it's going to bug me to not be able to think of which one it was.
Urban, Madison, Mercer, Fayette, Lincoln, Jefferson.
Garrett or Jefferson. There's the 6, but there was one made in between there. I don't know if it was like
Nelson?
Woodford or
Nelson?
something. Nelson. It probably
Yeah.
was Nelson.
Yeah,
That's
Nelson
probably it.
County.
Yeah.
I look at old maps, man.
I know. Well,
fascinated by old maps. You know, so.
But anyway, so that was their that was one of their tasks that they took on to form some counties there. But he continues on. He served as the clerk of the first Kentucky Statehood Convention in 1784. And I mean, if you think this is 1784, Kentucky doesn't even become a state till 92. So 8 years later, and they actually have quite a few conventions. One in 85, one in 88, which we've talked many times. The big holdup for all this was they were in Kentucky. They needed representation, and people in Virginia, Williamsburg, was just too far to go. I mean, you got to issue in the middle of Fayette or Bourbon or Lincoln County to get to Williamsburg. You're looking at weeks, and they're not going to be able to solve any problems.
Yeah, I've often read that it was a minimum of 8 days up to 2 weeks of travel time on horseback.
Yeah.
A good traveling time just to get there to the state courts, to the state government there. So, and it was hard for militia groups and things to get there too. So I mean, because what was very, very rampant at this time is there was tons of Indian attacks out there on the frontier, and they're constantly calling for militia's support and help things, and it's hard to get the state militia out there. They'd rather have their own state militia, and that was one of the main reasons for separation of Kentucky from Virginia, because heavily populated by Virginia, and Virginians are one of them states. Maybe not Virginians today, but Virginians back then would be like saying you're Texan, kind of thing. They're pretty proud of their state, kind of.
Yeah.
We're a Buckeye, right?
Me?
Or Buckeye. Yeah, that's something people are pretty proud of, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they are very familiar with the is it the Ohio State's record? I'm sorry. Which I mean, I do have a Cincinnati shirt on today, so I guess it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like you're talking about. Well, I guess we can talk about politics now, or laws or legislatures seem to be slow nowadays. But then they were literally slow. They could not travel as fast. It really took them that long to get those things done. But old Greenup's quite involved in politics, and he actually is one of the founders of the Danville Political Club.
Yeah. Which was the hub of politics during this time period, right? Then was Danville,
Yes, and if you go to,
they call themselves.
Yeah, if you go to Constitutional Square there in Danville, I believe is it the Grayson House was the house they met in. I can't think of. There's a sign there.
Well, it's right there in the corner. There's a museum there now. Is where that was. It was a tavern, a pub. Where else you're going to have your meeting, right?
Yeah. Well, you got exactly. I mean, you got to have your pub or your tavern, your jail, and your courthouse. All right there together.
Right. I remember we talked about that, right? That's what it takes to have a county seat there. As Scott says, he's from Montgomery County, but not the one in Kentucky. I reckon he's talking about the one in Virginia.
Yeah.
Or
I
Ohio,
guess so. Yeah.
I think there's.
I don't know how many Montgomery counties there are.
There's several for sure.
Yeah. So he actually goes back to Virginia for a little bit. Old Greenup does in 1787, and marries Mary Catherine Pope. And
notice he had all this political. He had all this things that he accomplished. The biggest bulk of his accomplishments of his establishment was before he was married, right? So He does a few more things, but notice that's what I notice when I read between the lines there. So he doesn't raise as much as he did before he was married. He's a little preoccupied because he had 6 kids. So.
Oh yeah. So Mary Catherine Pope is of Hanover County, Virginia, and is the daughter of Nathaniel and Lucy Fox Pope, if you know them. But I don't really know what their standing is of anything.
Hey, we know a lot about a lot of things, but let me tell you something. I had to tell somebody this early this week. I think it was Maine, there in Bourbon County. I was like, I know a lot about a lot of things, but I sure am not an expert about everything. It's impossible to know everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you said they have 6 kids, so two sons, 4 daughters. Plenty to keep them busy, I'm sure. But they moved back to Frankfort in 1792. Kentucky becomes a state. He was a Jefferson Republican.
Yeah.
And he was an elector to the first governor and a member of the first Senate in Kentucky, which first governor would have been Isaac Shelby. Pretty cool. Involved in politics. He was appointed, and I'm going to say this, and I don't really know if this is a special meaning, or I don't even know what it means at all, but he was appointed
I know what you're going to say.
A judge of the new court of Oyer and Terminer, and I don't really know what that means.
To hear and determine. It's Old French.
Oh.
Yeah, terminator. Yeah, Oyer and determiner. Yeah, it's old. It's an old English system of French and English system.
Yeah,
basically a court system. To hear and determine is. It's French that means to hear and determine.
French, oui.
Yeah, to sit on that court. We don't have that anymore, but he was put on there, but they voted him on there, but he didn't stay on very long.
Yep, he says, I'm out. I mean, you put me on it, I'm out. But he definitely had some ambitions here that he kind of was like, you know what, I probably don't need to be doing this. So he runs for office, and he is one of the first 2 representatives from Kentucky in Congress. So that's pretty neat. That's pretty cool.
It really is. I mean, this is an important guy at the time that, I'll be straight up honest with you. Before we decided to talk about him, I didn't really know anything about this fella.
Yeah.
My heroes are frontiersmen, backwoodsmen, not these polished lawyer
politicians. Yeah. And that's kind of where he falls into. Like, you talk about all this stuff's going on frontiers wise, all these raids and wars and battles and in Ohio and Indiana and all this stuff's going on. But he was kind of the guy staying at home, taking care of all the political stuff or being involved in all that I guess the lawmaking, all that stuff. So he wasn't on the front line, man. He did his soldiering days, and that did not last.
That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah. So he's the first one of the first representatives to the U.S. Congress. But then he comes back and gets into the Kentucky House of Representatives for Mercer County in 1798, and then he's the clerk of the Senate from 1799 to 1802, and that's when we get into his big ambition, I guess.
How many? I never added that up really, but how many different political positions does he have? I mean, he's a senator.
Oh gosh, yeah.
He's a clerk, he's a judge. He's
yeah. So
he's covered.
Yeah, he's done it all. I mean, really, if you think about political positions, the judge, senator, representative, clerk. I mean, he's really like, and that's what we'll get into here in a second. Just overall his career, I guess. But the big one is he runs for governor in 1800, and this would have been the 3rd governor or the 3rd gubernatorial race. I got that right, didn't I?
Gubernatorial, yeah.
Yeah. Third of Kentucky. So he runs against, though, the incumbent is James Garrett. Some other people that are that are running are Benjamin Logan and Thomas Todd.
His buddies.
Yeah, basically his buddies, the guys he's worked with, and so forth. But Garrett won. He ends up winning his second term, which he is this is off Greenups, but he is the first governor to run 2 consecutive terms. Garrett is. And then after that, though, they change it to where you can only run for 1 term. So I don't know, who's like, you know what?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like up until like, I'm gonna say, man, it's like it's like the 1970s is when it's changed.
Really?
And I honestly think, and don't quote me on this, but I think Paul Patton was the first one to do 2 consecutive terms.
Is that right?
I think. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, it was kind of crazy. Which I understand, but yeah.
Same way with senators, right? Just 1 term.
I don't know about senators. No, senators. Senators
McConnell's been in there since like 1872.
Yeah, I don't think they're good. I don't think there's any.
Even his party are getting tired of seeing that guy, man. So he's been there, I don't know, 32 years or something like that.
Yeah. But anyway, so he runs. He does not win the ticket. Garrett actually nominates him. He's his buddy. Nominates him to be the Secretary of State, but Greenup actually declines that.
Yeah.
Because he wants to become the governor. He wants to pursue the governorship, and in a way, I guess that's a way of him kind of staying out of the spotlight.
Sure.
So in 1802, he accepted an appointment as circuit court judge, and he then resigns, though, in June of 1804 to run for governor again.
Yeah.
So that's what brings us up. And you know what we did, man? And you'll be surprised, and I know everybody will actually probably be surprised about this, but we made a mistake. We made a mistake. When we talked about George Madison a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we said like he was the only other one who ran unopposed. As Kentucky governor.
I know what you're getting at. Yeah.
We were wrong, man. Christopher Greenup also ran.
You said that. I didn't.
I was wrong. Yeah.
Dude, I'm wrong every day with something. Trust me.
Yeah. He ran unopposed for the governorship, and he won in 1804. Now,
unopposed.
And
that doesn't happen today.
That doesn't. And like to think about this, so like to think in 1800, Garrett, Thomas Todd, Benjamin Logan, and Greenup all ran. Garrett won it, so he's out. He can't run again because he served 2 terms. Then Benjamin Logan actually died in like 1801. So then that left Thomas Todd, but I think he was federal. He was in a federal position, so he didn't run. So like all of his kind of opponents or people who would have had any kind of standing were kind of out. So that's one thing. He didn't really have there was a strong opponent. But then also, like we said before, he had this massive resume and people loved him. Like he wasn't a politician as in stand up, make a good speech politician. He was a politician who just did his job and got his work done.
Well,
people loved him.
In the backcountry, in order to run, you had to be a different kind of guy too, kind of thing, and be able to be one of the people. And his family is not one of the deep rooted blue bloods. I mean, they're definitely not the poor dirt farmers, but they're not one of the deep rooted families that are so connected and such like that too. So
yeah,
I think that helped him a little bit in his rise to the governorship there. But I tell you, we should probably take a quick break right now. Rolling on, we're going to get into some conspiracy and some accusations of treason and things like that, national treason and things. So I guess we should take a quick break. We'll see you on the other side.
Da-da-da. James Morehead was born on May 24, 1797, near Shepherdsville in Bullitt County. His parents were Armistead and Lucy Latham Morehead. The family soon moved to Russellville in Logan County. During his youth, he studied at the local schools. He then went to Transylvania University. He studied law under John Crittenden and Judge H.P. Broadna. He was admitted to the bar in 1818 and opened his law office in Bowling Green. He married Susan A. Roberts on May 1, 1823. They had 2 children. Morehead supported the Old Court, which was still a controversial topic in Kentucky's politics. He was a state representative for Warren County from 1828 to 1831. He was elected Lieutenant Governor of Kentucky as a national Republican over Benjamin Taylor, the Democrat, in an election that was full of fraud. During the 1832 election, the Democrat, John Breathitt, won the governor's race. 2 years later, Breathitt died in office, and Morehead was sworn in on February 22, 1834, as Kentucky's 12th governor. Morehead got little accomplished as governor. He was more of a placeholder. He did not push forward on education, even though there was a local push with education organizations being formed. The Panic of 1837 hindered his economic plans. He did help complete the change of the National Republican Party to the Whig Party. He favored judicial reform, but didn't pursue it, and sadly, he was against abolitionism. But he was in a slaveholding state, so that was an easy stand for him to take. He declined his party's nomination to run for governor in 1836, and left office after his term as governor ended. This was not the end of his political career. He was a representative in the Kentucky House from 1837 to 1838, and he was in the U.S. Senate from 1841 to 1847. On national issues, he was for the federal bank bill, he opposed the annexation of Texas, and he supported the Mexican War when it began. Morehead and John Speed Smith were chosen as commissioners to the state of Ohio to secure the return of Kentucky-owned slaves as property of their masters. They were successful in this endeavor. Once he did give up politics, he practiced law in Covington until he died on December 28, 1854. He is buried in the Frankfort Cemetery. I hope you've enjoyed learning about James Morehead. He was the first governor of Kentucky who was born in Kentucky. Ironically enough, he wasn't elected to be governor. When you look at his actions, it seems he may not have wanted to be the governor. He became governor by unsuspected events, and then he didn't run for re-election. Overall, he did not get much accomplished with his time as governor. Morehead in Rowan County is named for James Morehead. Don't forget to try out audible.com/KYHistoryPod to get a free book of your choosing. Like, subscribe, and share this video and the Kentucky History channel for more Kentucky history content. If you want to support the channel, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/KYHistoryPod. Find us on Twitter and Facebook at KYHistoryPod and Instagram at Kentucky History Podcast. And don't forget to check out the Kentucky History Podcast for more in-depth history of Kentucky. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Man, that's a really good video, Jameson.
Thank you. Thank you.
James Morehead. We got Morehead, Kentucky. We got Morehead State, the university out there. And so many things are named after him. Do you know what a head is? You see people's names like that, like Whitehead, Peterhead, Blackhead, different last name Head.
No, I do not.
A little bit of side trivia. A head.
No, I do not.
A head is like a very, very small cape. It's like a jut out of a landmass. Usually there's a lighthouse there. So
okay, yeah.
Like a white head would be, there's a lot of white water. It's real shallow and there's a lot of white. So a head is like a little jut out of one of the big ports in northern Scotland is Peterhead up there. So a little bit of useless information right there. Has nothing to do with Christopher Greenup, but
hey.
Now you always know that. You're like, what kind of a name is Whitehead?
Yeah.
One of my son's best friends has 2 brothers named Whiteheads. Whitehead. What a name is that? Well,
there you go. Very interesting. I'll now know.
I'm full of this stuff. Trust me, all day long.
Like you said, man, you know a lot about everything, but not an expert on anything. Right?
But yeah, you're daggone right. So back to our buddy, Mr. Greenup.
So he becomes the governor, and really he hits it at a good time to be the governor of Kentucky. as far as as we're at 12 years, it's been a state for 12 years. The inner workings are kind of all worked out. He's kind of the Louisiana Purchase has just happened. So
Huge
that
for
pretty much
Kentucky.
huge.
Huge for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Why was that so big? We think about that. What the heck does that got to do with anything? That's New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's way out west. What the heck does the Louisiana Purchase got to do with Kentucky?
Well, the old Ohio goes right into the Mississippi, flows right straight down, opens up commerce, business. The economy just booms because
Huge.
they're able to connect to the world, basically.
Absolutely. You go straight down the river, flatboats. It's the time of the flatboats, the prime time of that. Fortunes are made overnight, by running. I mean, you can run a load. Well, this is a boom of bourbon and things like that too, during this time, running it, because now you can get your goods to market within a month. Vice, having to, carry it on a wagon, and flatboats were huge. Some of them were really big. You could put 50 men on some of these boats, these barges that they were running down the Ohio. So he is a governor that helped to institutionalize all this growth for Kentucky.
Yeah, and this is one of his quotes there, or one of the quotes he says, there seems to exist a love of order, a prevailing respect for the constituted authorities, and a growing disposition to support and aid them in the due execution of their respective functions. And I think one thing we got to think about it at this time. So we're looking at 1804. Native American attacks are declining to a point that not that they're non-existent, but I mean the order, as I was saying, in the state of Kentucky is really established, I guess.
Yes.
And so,
huge,
and it's probably
the city of Louisville is exploding at this time, exploding.
So he's hitting it really well to say that all he has to do is govern appropriately, and that's kind of his quote is saying, there seems to be, the state is ready to be governed, the state is ready to run, in that saying. So he does a lot of things, or he tries to do a lot of things. Some of the stuff, of course, is not always perfect. We're talking about politics here, but he gets the Bank of Kentucky organized. He gets a canal planned for the falls of the.
That's a big deal
Ohio,
too.
Right?
Yeah,
it's huge.
That's absolutely. What is the falls of the Ohio anyway?
Well, this huge waterfall that it's not
like
really
Niagara. 70 feet, right?
No. So when you get to Louisville, the rivers was a bit rough. It wasn't really a waterfall per se, but a lot of a drop. The water just drops.
Rapids.
The rapids are there.
Dangerous rapids.
Yes.
Several islands right out there in the Ohio. And they're still there. Some of those islands are still there. The water level is much higher now. And a lot of those islands, like Corn Island, which was the original settlement for George Rogers Clark established for the founding of Louisville there. But the islands are still there. You can see them.
Yeah. And like what people used to do is they would literally get off the boat, to either pack their canoe to the other side or disassemble their boat, or there's many of ways, but they would avoid the falls because they were so rough. But by building a canal, that eliminates that stoppage or that hurdle to climb or to get over. So it's a lot easier to sail on down your 100 barrels of bourbon, or
it'd be like adding an interstate, or if you've got a 2-lane road, making it a 3-lane road on each side, kind of thing is what he did right there to open up commerce for the generation of wealth for the state.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just more navigation, quicker to get to the Mississippi, makes it, like I said, an interstate. It makes it a whole lot easier. But so again, another positive for his governorship. He, of course, makes a lot of good position or posts a lot of key governmental positions. He proposes some legislation, and this is the legislation he proposes. For the most part, is okay. He worked really well with the legislature. we think of it now and like nobody's gonna, if the opposite party's in power, things just get murky, things don't get done, and all this kind of stuff. But this was different, man.
That's the biggest thing that I take from Christopher Greenup is how well he
Mhm.
worked with everybody.
Yeah, and well, go ahead.
Today, if you got one party guy, everybody in the opposite party opposes him. He could say the sky is blue, and they say, no, it is not. The sky is
Yeah.
red. No matter
Yeah.
what in the world they say is wrong. But that's what I take from Christopher Greenup is he had a really good way of bringing things together. And some of that, being a student of history and being a coach for many years, everything's good when you're winning, man. Everything's easier when you win.
Definitely.
Everybody's
Definitely.
happier, when everybody's making money, it's a lot easier to read. So I'm not trying to take anything from Christopher Greenup, but he might have had a little bit of rosier. They won the national championship that year back then, right?
Exactly.
Wasn't that Kentucky's first basketball national championship, 1804?
Yeah.
Pretty
So,
close.
and that's the thing. Like, you had he didn't overstep his executive duties. He kind of I guess if you want to say towed the line, but like he wasn't afraid to veto something if the legislature proposed or passed something he wasn't fully agreed with. And then guess what the legislature would do? They would actually go back, modify their law to meet kind of his objection, and then they would pass it. And it was all like, hey man, we're all on the same team. So weird politics back then.
Absolutely.
But
nobody could read or write, So I mean, you put it in the newspaper, nobody knew what the heck was going on anyway, right? So.
Yeah. One thing that like you just said, one thing he did want to get kind of things going was education, but that did not really nothing really got established. And again, I mean, it's not until 1850 does Kentucky really get some kind of education established.
And Kentucky's still behind.
Still, yeah.
Every year we compete with Mississippi and Arkansas as the in West Virginia, as
number one.
Well, the number 50, in education. So, and you're part of that system, I think.
I know. You? Oh gosh, we would have to have a 2-3 hour episode if we want to get into that.
I will say this though, Kentucky has made leaps and bounds in the last 20 years in education for sure. Yeah. And I think we're up to, we're getting up to around like 42.
Yeah. Hey, in the top 40 would be good, but yeah, he has a lot of good a lot of good grace. A lot of good things happen for him while he's governor, except one big issue that rears its ugly head in 1806. The Spanish conspiracy.
Yeah.
Do you know about the Spanish conspiracy?
Yeah. This is our buddy Aaron Burr.
Old Burr, man. Staring things up, man.
He's definitely a guy we're going to have to do an episode or two of Aaron Burr. Because he's the type of guy that rose to power the same that Christopher Greenup did, but he rose on a national level and things. Mm-hmm. And he kind of felt snubbed at times and was accused of wanting to basically establish his own empire.
Yeah, which brings up, where did he stop? He stopped in one place that kind of really messed it up for a lot of Kentucky politicians. Old Frankfort, man. He made a stop in Frankfort. And well, actually, I think it might have been Lexington, actually. It was in Lexington because it was at the one hotel, the big, oh man, what's it called? The big old hotel in Lexington.
Phoenix?
The Phoenix. He stopped at the Phoenix, man. And he might have talked to some people. And things might have got a little suspicious because all this Spanish talk and how he was going to get forces in Spain, have his own little rebellion, or was he just going to create his own nation?
Was going to take part of the United States away from the United States.
So there was a paper in Frankfurt, and it was a Federalist paper, and it started kind of stirring the pot a little bit, and they actually accused um, uh, Christopher Greenup and other people of being involved in this conspiracy. Now, actually, some politicians actually had to resign. They were so pressured and so
Well,
forth. However, Greenup did not.
who's involved?
He,
It's Watergate times 10. I
it
mean,
is, yeah. Yeah.
you
And
know,
you think of, America is only 25 some years old or so,
but
give or take.
accuse your enemy.
Yeah, yeah.
Fingers are pointing all over the place as to, oh, you were involved in that,
Yeah.
and it's opportunism as its greatest. The same for the American Revolution. A lot of these all right. The patriots fought for America, their freedom and things, but the average dirt farmer, he's going to pay taxes to Washington D.C. or London, England, one or the other.
Well,
So it was definitely a time of opportunism for a lot of people, and how different little things throughout history could drastically change the language we speak and the flag that we have and our map in general. So
yeah. So with all the big conspiracy, and we can get into the Burr conspiracy a bit more, and its influence in Kentucky. But for Greenup, he was pretty much able to defend himself and prove that he was innocent or did not really have any kind of involvement. Nothing came of it, and that's pretty much it. He cleared his name. He had a high reputation, and people were like, "Okay, we got you, man. We believe you." And that's how it went.
Matter of fact, he was going to raise up an army, I think, wasn't he?
Well, that's what we're getting to. Yep. So, Jefferson issues a proclamation warning of certain vessels of Mr. Burr's flotilla.
Flotilla, yeah.
What's a flotilla?
A flotilla is his all of his ships in general.
Okay, gotcha.
Thing like a flotilla would a group of ships.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard it used in that.
Well, we always had and when I was in the Marines in Swansboro, North Carolina, we always had a flotilla Christmas parade. So.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, all right. Well, so that was this big, Jefferson was kind of warning them of this treasonous mission that might happen coming down the Ohio. So Greenup goes, he organizes the militia and gets everybody ready to defend the state of Kentucky against the Burr conspiracy. But
isn't that wild? Because people say, what is the National Guard? What the heck is their purpose? Besides to go pick up trash when we have a disaster, pick up sticks or something like that when we have a big storm. They were the militia for the state to defend the state from invasion. This is a time, we think about the federal system and things like that really doesn't become extremely powerful until after the Civil War. But at this type of time, at this time right here, you could lose your state in general, So.
Yeah. I mean, it was a Kentucky militia. There wasn't necessarily a national army, It was more like the Kentucky militia had to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, but nothing comes of it. Nothing happens. He addresses the General Assembly and kind of goes on, talks about the mechanizations of some designing characters which lately threatened the peace and tranquility of the Union have been happily counteracted and suppressed without the infusion of human blood. So he took a lot of credit that said, "Hey, we got our boys ready and nothing happened. So let's take a pat on the back." So in 1808, he was his governorship ends in 1808.
Sure.
He was a presidential elector for the Madison and Clinton ticket after he completed his term. Well, not that Clinton.
Different Clinton.
Not a Willie.
Imagine that we could have had two of them.
Well,
another show.
True, another show. Yeah. But he completes his term, and he actually continues his legal law career in Frankfort in Franklin County as he serves as the Justice of Peace. and that's about it. During his time, of course, he had many correspondence with Jefferson and Madison, because, I mean, as you said, this is going on. This whole Burr conspiracy is going on, and he's the governor of Kentucky. So he many different many correspondence. You can find those online pretty easily.
Yeah.
And stuff. But he dies in 1818 at the age of 68. And actually, his wife had died 10 years earlier. So his wife died right near the time his governorship was ended.
Yeah.
But he had rheumatism. So is that it's arthritis, right?
Yeah, I do believe so.
Yeah,
I'm not at that age yet, but my rheumatism flared up. Yeah.
You can't tell when the storms are coming just yet, but
he dies where?
In Frankfurt. Oh no, Blue Licks Spring Resort. How about that?
Yeah. Who else was up there?
You mean who else? You mean died there, or you mean Daniel Boone was there? Yeah.
Remember James Madison went up there to.
That's right. Yeah.
To the Blue Licks Resort there at the Springs, and that's he was swore in there by the Bourbon County Justice of the Peace, James Madison, with the fifth governor.
Yeah. Yep. The fifth. Yep. That's right. Sixth governor.
No.
Yeah.
Shelby's the sixth.
No, Shelby was the first and the fifth.
Okay. All right. I was thinking Shelby was the first and the sixth. You got me there.
Yeah. Shelby, Greenup. No, Shelby, Garrett, Greenup, Scott, Shelby, Madison.
Okay. There you go. Yeah. Scott, Charles Scott, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the general.
So he dies there. He's buried in the State Cemetery in Frankfurt. He divided up his land now, or his estate, and I get a hold of this. His estate, which included land in Kentucky, Virginia, and Ohio. So I mean, he'd set himself up pretty good. I do believe.
Lots of wealthy Kentuckians bought land in Ohio.
Yeah. He divided up against with his children. He freed his slave, which kind of assuming that was the only slave he had at the time.
Had one.
Do what?
Just had one.
Yep. And in his eulogy, they said that he had a career of public service. He has been the most useful man in Kentucky. Which, eulogies are probably a little bit biased, but it's pretty nice words.
There's very little negative when it comes to Christopher Greenup. We often say that there's, gosh, I can't run for anything because they'll dig something up on me, on anybody, But Christopher Greenup's got a pretty stellar and crystal clear record, doesn't he?
Yeah, and that's one thing, like, even reading up on him and those sorts of things, like, and I say this nicely, he was a very boring politician. I mean, he did his job. He didn't do nothing. He wasn't this big outspoken guy. He wasn't a good orator or speaker. He just did his job and was honest with his colleagues, and who knew? People respected that, and it turned into
a guy that a lot of people could learn from today. I think He wasn't afraid to veto things, but he did reach across both sides, and maybe he was an opportunist. That things were really good at the time. He was on a booming economy and things. So there's been a few other presidents in recent times that have benefited from that popularity and things too. So,
yeah. So that's it, man. That's Christopher Greenup in a nutshell.
Yeah,
50 some minutes.
Yeah, Christopher Greenup. It's somebody that in Greenup County and Greenup, Kentucky, which are on completely opposite ends of the state, named after him there. So,
and I don't think, and I don't know for sure, I don't think there's any other counties named Greenup or anything to that nature. A lot of counties in Kentucky are named.
He's one of those guys that's really a Kentucky guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His early years were in Virginia, of course, like so many other Kentuckians. But when you think of this man, the rest of his life is spent there in Kentucky. So it's not he wasn't in the War of 1812. He was kind of old for that. He wasn't as BA as Isaac Shelby was. Leading a whole unit of men in his 60s. So, but Carol says, any upcoming podcast on Lee County?
Not yet. Honestly,
Lee County,
that's
Kentucky,
one.
or Lee County, Virginia, or
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I assume Lee County, Kentucky.
probably,
but that is a county we need to get to talk about.
Biteville. And they don't even have a football
yeah.
team up there, man. They don't even have high school football up there.
Oh wow! Well, Jackson County used to not have high school football either until
they don't today either.
Oh, they don't. Oh well, yeah. There's a few of those.
Had it for 10 or 15 years, but I mean,
not anymore.
No, they got it. They have.
Oh, they do. Okay.
When you lose 62 to nothing every game, you got things.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry, Jackson County.
Lee County, Kentucky. Yeah, we need to get. I need to get. We need to get onto some Lee County history.
Really cool place there. That's where the confluence of the Kentucky River is. North, middle, and south fork of the Kentucky.
Lawrence County. Don says Lawrence County is full of history as well. It is, and I was really close. I had somebody worked out to come on the podcast about Lawrence County, but haven't got anything worked out.
Old pre-settlement, like even French, kind of early 1700s.
Cool. Yeah. Jesuits.
I don't know about the Jesuits, but I was thinking about the French fur trappers and things.
Yeah.
There. But, Captain David Hogan from Lee County. I actually know a fellow by the last name Hogan that's from Lee County. I'm pretty sure that's probably his descendant. So
yeah, I'll make a note of that and see what we can dig up, find out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't even look to see what we got next week. I haven't even looked out so far. We've been filming like crazy. Oh
man, I know my phone's going off crazy with the notifications.
That's live.
I can't stop in the middle of class and be like, "Hold on, guys, let's watch this."
We're probably going to be live tomorrow at some point, and I know next week we got 8 different things we're shooting up there in Spencer County with their historical society up there. So Wolfe County. Richard Perkins says, "What about Wolfe County?"
Okay. Hey, we're getting there. Like we said, man, there's 120 counties.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
We've got we're getting there. The best thing the best thing is getting a historical society, because we got, and for the podcast, we got Jefferson County coming up, Pike County coming up. Then we have Carter County in a few, probably the end of November. But when you're able to find any good history stuff in Ohio County, if I'm able
that's
to
one
find
of those counties, Ohio County, Kentucky.
Yeah, a historical society. Those are the ones that get in contact with, because they have so much information and like to talk to those people. And that's, it's a process. If you got people you can recommend, send them my way, and we'll get it going. But yeah, we'll get to every county. We'll get there.
Oh yeah. You want to do them right. You don't just want to fly through them there. So
yeah.
And Ancestor Stalker says thanks again, guys. And Don says go to Arlington with me next month. Man, that's a realistic possibility. I'm going to be many states in October. We got a busy coming up.
But yeah, you were saying next week. No show next week. No show next week. Yeah.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, man. Fall break.
Disney World.
No, not Disney World.
But I know the next show is going to be on the Hensley settlement, and that's what that is a. Well, you guys can Google it, but that's an interesting place for sure.
Yeah,
by far, and it's a well-known place in Eastern Kentucky. So
that sounds good. Sounds like a good one. Subscribe to the channel. I'll put a link in the channel. We're almost to 1,000, so I appreciate all that. And that's about it.
Absolutely. And how close are you, 1,000?
907. So
guys, you guys got to go. You got to go subscribe to the Kentucky History Podcast. Once the magic number with YouTube is 1,000. As soon as you get 1,000, you've got many thousand. kind of thing. And what they're doing over there is spectacular for the service to our state and to our history and heritage and things. So make sure you send your folks over there, advertise it to your friends and stuff. So thumbs up to the share on the channel. Yeah, Melissa says. So as we leave, there's a couple of there's a video we're going to show that it's kind of on the birth of Lexington kind of thing. So we've got you're going to see a ton of videos come rolling out with Family Tree Nuts over the next few weeks. So make sure you subscribe. You know, there's a ton of stuff coming. But as we leave, that's what the show. That's what the video is. I think it's 6 minutes long or something. But some really cool stuff about the founding of Lexington, Kentucky. So anything else you want to say before we head out?
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you here in 2 weeks. So
yeah, look forward to it. Yeah, man, absolutely. And hey, Family Tree Nuts, let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.
The birthplace of the capital of the bluegrass, Mcconnell Springs, where Lexington, Kentucky was born. Hey everybody, this is Colonel Carson with Family Tree Nuts, and I'm in Mcconnell Springs Park, here in the north end of Lexington, Kentucky. We're on the middle fork of Elkhorn Creek, which is known as Town Branch now. Our story begins in 1774, when William McConnell led a surveying team from Pennsylvania to this area. McConnell went back to Pennsylvania for the winter, and in June of 1775, he set a camp and built a cabin here with his brother. Soon, word came from the newly built Fort Boonesborough. They informed the McConnell brothers that the Revolutionary War had started at the Battle of Lexington and Concord on April the 19th, 1775. The brothers thought it was fitting to name their camp Lexington in the battle's honor. During this time, Native American attacks were rampant in the area, so the brothers were forced to go back home to Pennsylvania and abandon the settlement. 4 years later, in 1779, Colonel Robert Patterson came back to the area and built a permanent settlement. The settlers chose to keep the name Lexington. The McConnell brothers also came back at this time. The town grew to be a huge area of importance due to its central location in the bluegrass region and its early settlements. The site, McConnell Springs, grew to have a rich history of its own. In 1810, Samuel and George Trotter bought the land and started a gunpowder mill. This gunpowder mill was vital to the importance of the War of 1812. The gunpowder mill closed when Samuel died in the 1833 cholera epidemic. You might remember the video we did about the town drunk, King Solomon, who became a hero during the cholera epidemic. In 1835, Thomas Smith started a horse farm called Westbrook Stock Farm. During the cleanup of the gunpowder mill, an explosion erupted, injuring 2 and killing 1. The farm was closed in 1838 and passed hands several times to different investors. Then in 1859, John Wilson bought in and started another farm. Beginning in the 1880s, some of the water of the spring began to be pumped to a distillery, of course. Bourbon whiskey is definitely a thing that this area is known for. In 1886, Mr. David Cahill bought the land and turned it back into a farm, giving it its name from a half a century earlier, Westbrook Stock Farm. They bred trotting horses and later added a dairy farm. The farm ran for 72 years when it was sold in 1958. The land was bought by the Central Rock Company to do underground gravel mining. They tore down all the old buildings of the old farm. The property sold again in 1983 to the Dallas Development Company. They began to fill the area with dirt so it could be developed. They were about to fill in the historic springs until an ordinance stopped them. In 1992, local citizens started to clean up the area. And in 1993, part of the land was donated to the city, and the Friends of McConnell Springs was founded. In 1999, the Kentucky American Water Company Education Center opened here. Today, the area is a park where many enjoy the walking trails and the amazing sights such as the replica cavern, the Blue Hole, and the Boils. What's the Blue Hole? The Blue Hole is the location where William McConnell set his camp up in 1775 that became Lexington in 1779. Water from the Lexington area seeps through limestone bedrock, and then it pool's here in about a 15-foot sinkhole. The deep water is what gives the pool its blue color. From here, the water flows back underground and appears at the boils. This area is called the boils because often after heavy rains, water shoots high into the air. The name the boils makes you think that the water would be hot here, but the water is actually in the 50s. From here, the water goes underground again and eventually into Town Branch, the Elkhorn Creek, and then the Kentucky River. You can also see the remains of a structure, which was the Cahill Dairy Farm Creamery built in the early 1900s. We're lucky that these historic sites have been saved by geology. The ground is soggy here, and it couldn't be developed. And that's why it survived to this day. Some more things to see here at the park are the remains of rock fences that are all over the park. You can also see the remains of the farm that was here. And one of my favorite things here, the bur oak. The bur oak is around 250 years old, which means it was a sapling around 1770. It was here when the Mcconnell brothers first came in 1774. It has seen everything in Kentucky's past, post-Native Americans. It is amazing what this tree has seen. Just down the road, you can see William McConnell's house, the original pioneer that came to the area in 1774. Shortly after he returned to the area in 1779, just a mile from this location, he built a house in 1785. It's one of the oldest houses in Lexington, and it's amazing that it survived. So, here we are at Mcconnell Springs, the location where Lexington, Kentucky, the capital of the bluegrass, the horse capital of the world, was born. This is a place that few people that live around here know is even here. We encourage you to check it out, learn about its history, and enjoy its beauty. And hey, remember, family tree nuts, let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.